Have you ever wondered how different paint would be if it came out from different containers? We're going to test that today on this canvas, red, yellow, and blue paint with a little bit of white from these 4 different containers, one long ways, one short way. So let's get to it. I'm going to put paint in each one of these separately because I don't want the heavier paints to sink, or the white in this case. So we're just going to pull all of these off. We'll start with this one. And I'm going to try and pour the paint on the side where the paint's going to come out. So, oh, I forgot I want to do red, yellow, blue. So all of these paints are 1 part paint to 2 part Floetrol. And these are all creative inspirations. These are ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow, and permanent red. And then the white is actually from Pebeo. The first layer I like to do thin. Second layer I'll do a little bit thicker. Oh, I went backwards. So now we know we're going red, yellow, blue, blue, yellow, red. Do a demo, lose a sale is how I say it. Yeah, that's probably good. Okay, so just make sure you can see here. So this one has a very good tip on it. And so the paint's going to be coming out very small there. So I just want to, we're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to kind of move out to the corner just because this is as the paint comes, it definitely gets slower and slower. So you're going faster at the beginning, but slower at the end, so you can get the same amount of paint coming out. All right, so there's the first one. Now we're just going to turn this way. Make sure you can still see it good in the side view. Next we're going to do a regular cup. So again, a little bit of white. So this regular cup doesn't have quite as big as a tip. I'm not going to bend it in. So it ought to give us a little more paint coming out at a time. Then we're going to do the same thing, white, a little bit more this time, blue, yellow, red. Okay. So again, same thing coming out of the direction that I started in. See, I'm getting more paint and I kind of got a flatter area here. I got to go a little bit slower because I was kind of pushing paint out and it was kind of globbing out. See, the paint's coming out in a much thicker area. Okay, there's number 2. Next, we're going to go the long ways on one of these. Just flip this. Make sure it shows up good in the camera. And because we're going this way, I'm going to consider this my pouring end. So I actually don't want it to flatten out here. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a lip so it kind of stays on this side. Here you'll be able to see better how much I'm putting in each time. Not a ton the first time, a little bit more the second. Let's go blue. So pull this off. So same thing. Obviously the paint's going to come out way faster here. Probably should have put a little bit more paint in. I'll do that for the next one. And if you're wondering, these containers are from, what is it called? Grasa in Spanish. Man, I cannot remember. These containers are from shortening, the little shortening sticks. That's where I got those from. So next we're gonna go this way, and same thing, I wanna flip this around so we can see good. So again, I need a little more than I normally would because I have such a surface area here. And there was a little bit of something right there in the red. Don't want that getting in. All right, let's move that. So now we have a super big. I want to stop there because it's starting to come out at different angles. So here's the end result. So this was the small. This was the cup. This was the flat end of the shortening. And this was the, or I should say the short end of the shortening, and this was the long end of the shortening cup. So very different, that's for sure. So I don't quite have enough paint on here. I probably should have used a little bit more on each one of those. So we're just going to add some of the rest of this. And this was a 16 by 20 canvas. That means I have about 356 square inches if you do at the top and the sides, which means I need divide that by 25, Need 15 or so. Ounces of paint. Can bring more out if we need it, but for right now I think we'll leave it at that. All right, so let's such an interesting look, especially all the colors coming up through there. One of the things I really like about the cup is you don't quite get as tiny of fingerlings as you do with a very pointed edge. And my paint here was medium thick. I didn't want it to, you know, you could kind of see a poop emoji when you're draining it off. Because I didn't want it to mix a super lot. I mean, obviously it was going to mix some no matter what, but I'm using all primary colors here. So I didn't want it to be too thin because it would just turn to brown as soon as stuff touched. So leaving it a little bit thicker lets me keep myself from going that direction, at least for a second. One problem about it is it makes this really, really slow. One thing I didn't tell you is this is a leftover canvas, or a canvas that I got donated, and it had a kind of a hole here from cutting open the thing. So I put a little bit of just straight pouring medium there to kind of fill that gap. And when it dries, I shouldn't see hardly any of a texture of that hole anymore. I'm just gonna help this out a little bit. With the thicker paint, I might not have left me enough. So this was the tiny cup. You see all the tiny little fingerlings, how small they were. This part right here was the cup. Same type of thing, but they got a little bit wider. That's probably my favorite for this. This side here was the small side of the shortening container. I do kind of like how the colors mixed. And I have kind of a dense section in here, although I use primary color, so it's turning a little bit brown, but I kind of like how that looks. And then this one, which was almost the other flat piece, which was almost all, I hope this dries like this. Honestly, I think this is pretty awesome. And so when you're mixing paints like this, you definitely want to know how much pouring medium to mix in and what that affects, and I have a video about that here.